Hello, my name is Mary. I am the former owner of Sonnenblume Flower Farm and Design. Last spring, when there were a lot of things going down, good old spring of 2020, I released a video on YouTube that described my garden planning process for my flower farm, and it included the spreadsheet that I used to plan my crops. Now, a lot of people after that video came out, reached out to me and told me that they wanted to have this spreadsheet so they could plan their own crops. So I decided to kind of revamp it and create an automatically calculating crop planner. And that is what we see before us today. This video is going to be kind of a tutorial on how to use this crop planner for a flower farm or a vegetable farm or any sort of growing operation, no matter what size, no matter what crop, that involves scheduled planting or succession planting or what have you. So let's begin. As you can see, there are 3 different worksheets here. This one will calculate the day of transplanting and the day of maturity of a plant based on when the seed is planted. This worksheet calculates when you should transplant a seedling outside. And this one, this one calculates what day you should plant the seed and what day the plant will mature based on when you transplant it. And this one will calculate what day you should plant the seed and when you should transplant it based on the desired day the plant will mature. So let's start with the first one here. What you're going to want to do is make sure you have either the seed website or the seed packet with you while you fill this out. We're going to use snapdragons as an example. So the first thing, of course, is to enter the name of the crop into the worksheet so you remember. So here we're going to calculate these 2 different variables based on when you are planting your seeds. So use this worksheet if you know what day you're planting your seeds on. So the first number that you're going to want to find is this number right here, days to maturity. Now, depending on the seed company or the type of plant, this number will be based on either A, when the seed is planted, so like 110 to 20 days after you plant the seed, or B, 120 days after the seed germinates. So just make sure you know which circumstance that is based on before you start. For me, I'm going to assume that this means days after the seed is planted. So 110 to 120 days, you can either copy paste that or just type it in to this column right here, days to maturity range. So I always put the range in for my own reference, but I choose one number between the smaller and larger one to put into this column right here, because you can only base calculations off of a single number and not a range. I always choose the bigger number or the longer amount of time for this, because in my experience, I prefer, if the plant matures 10 days ahead of schedule, I'd rather that than 10 days behind schedule. But it's up to you. You might have experience with a crop and know more how long it takes to mature based on your circumstances. But personally, I'm going to choose the longest amount of time. The next number you're going to want to find is kind of buried in some information. So snapdragons, surface sow or transplant indoors. So this phrase here insinuates that the seedlings will be indoors or protected 8 to 10 weeks before they are transplanted. So I will put that information right here, 8 to 10 weeks. Again, I'm just putting the whole range in for my own reference, and I am choosing the larger number, the longest time, and putting that right here. And watch this column right here, this cell, as I hit enter. So I put the weeks indoors here, and then over here it automatically multiplies this number by 7 so that it gives me days. 10 weeks is 70 days. Just so that these numbers are on a consistent field. So you're going to want to do all of that. And then it is very simple from this point on. So let's say I know that I want to sow my first succession of snapdragons on January 24th. There you go. So you put that into the S1 column. S stands for seeding date, T stands for transplant date, and M stands for maturity date. So by putting this date in here, I can see that I should transplant the snapdragons outdoors on April 4th, and then the snapdragons will more or less, maturity date is always an estimate, but I can estimate that they will be mature on May 24th. So that it's as simple as that. Then what you're going to want to do, so let's say I want to do my next succession, I want to plant it 1 week later, so January 31st, and you will see it automatically populates. 70 days later, I will transplant the seeds, and then 120 days later, they will be mature. And so you can do that for the rest of these. I'll just fill them in. So number 3, succession number 3, as you can see, they're kind of divvied out there for you. Let's say I want to plant it on February 7th. There you go. And let's say this one I want to plant on February 14th. There you go. And so you can just do this for as many successions as you would like. Up to 6, I figured that would be, I wanted to kind of fit all of this on one page, so I only added 6 successions. Let me just finish filling this out here. If you do have more than 6 successions, I would recommend you just go to the next column and then, Snapdragon 1, keep the same info there, and then you can start anew and keep going with the rest of them. But that's just if you have more than 6 successions. So that is how you calculate these dates based off of knowing the date that you're sowing the seeds. So if you know this worksheet here, personally, I often like to base my calculations off of the last frost. So let's say, first we have to fill this all out. So we're going to do the same thing. Snapdragon days to maturity is 120, days indoors. We'll just fill this all back in a little bit so it calculates itself. Oh, there we go. So oftentimes I would like to base my calculations off of the last frost because I know that that's when I can transplant outside. So with all of this information, all you have to do is know when you're transplanting. So let's say I want to transplant on April 4th. And there you go. Oh, hold on. There we go. This might happen to you if you kind of mess with the numbers like I did earlier. If you have these numbers, the pound signs here, don't worry, just continue as normal. So let's say a week later, I want to transplant on the 11th. There, it just fixes itself. So if I want to transplant on April 4th, I know that I need to plant the seeds on January 24th, and that they will likely mature on May 24th. Same thing here. Transplant outside on the 11th of April. I know I have to plant the seeds on January 31st, and the plants will mature approximately May 31st. Same thing here. Let's say a week later, 4/18. And then 4/25. 5, 5, 2, and 5, 9. So there you go. Weekly successions, all your info is right there. So let's go over here, same thing, fill everything out. Now this worksheet is for you. This worksheet is for you if you know when you want your plants to mature. So I'm just going to fill all of this back in. 10 weeks indoors. And there we go. And 120 days. So again, this may happen to you depending on what you do. No worries there. Just keep filling in as normal and it'll fix itself. All right, so I have a Snapdragon crop and I know that I want the first harvest to be around May 24th. So I put that in there, maturity, and there you go. Same as before, got to plant the seeds on January 24th and transplant them on April 4th. And approximately, I'll get the first harvest, they'll be mature on May 24th. So if I want to do it a week later, on the 31st, there you go. Auto-populates, just like magic. So there you go. So as you can see, I've gone ahead and added a couple more plants to the crop planner here just to illustrate some additional tools. As you can see, we got celosia and flax in here. They have different days to maturity, different days indoors. You can see here by these columns being empty across the board, that would imply that there are only 3 successions instead of 6. You can totally do that. They are spaced, the successions are spaced different lengths apart. So the celosia in this circumstance is planted every 2 weeks. Flax is planted every 3, just to kind of show you what that might look like. And you can see that all of the columns have these little triangles on them. That's because I've formatted this as a table. So you can actually make a schedule sort of thing for yourself. So you can organize all of the columns with this table function with all of these little drop-down menus. So if you wanted to, for example, organize your crops alphabetically, sort A to Z, there you go, alphabetical order. If you wanted to kind of see a planting schedule organized in chronological order, you would go to seeding here and sort oldest to newest, and that is going to show you in chronological order first this, so snapdragons, then this, so celosia, then this is flax. So that's a pretty cool function right there. Same with the transplanting. If you want to organize that in chronological order, same thing. Since I have these kind of filled out, it auto-populates with number 1. You can always just delete these columns by highlighting all of them, right-click, delete. And then if you want to keep adding, and in general across the board with this, if you get to the end of this, you can always just go like this and say, add your next crop, and it'll fill it all out for you. As you can see, it fills out all the formulas, so you can just keep adding as necessary to the bottom. Okay, so let's say, for example, I calculated my Snapdragon crop based on the seeding date, but I calculated my celosia crop based on the transplant date, and I calculated the flax based on the maturity date. So they're all on different sheets, but I want all of my crops in one place at some point so I can see the whole thing. You could just choose one of these sheets and manually enter each date according to whatever, or you can use the solution that I created for you in the form of this empty worksheet. So you can see it's formatted the same, but there's nothing in it. So this is where you can copy and paste all of your data into one place. So let's say I calculated, like I said, the Snapdragon based on the seeding date. I'm going to go over here to the row and right click it and hit copy. And then go over here to empty, click on the first row here and click insert copied cells. There you go. Now your Snapdragon is here. Then we go to this worksheet and then Postalosia from this worksheet. So same thing, right click on the row, copy, go over here, right click on the desired row, insert copied cells, and there you go. Same thing right about here, copy the flocks from maturity date, and then paste it or insert it right here. So now you can see you've got your whole lineup here in one sheet. Even if you pulled them from different sheets, and you can organize them same way as before, and they're all in one place. So just there's another cool little tip for you. So I hope that this has kind of cleared all of this up. As you can see, I have all of the instructions written in the sheets. Going forward, if you're not too familiar with Excel, if you mess something up, you delete something, and the format has gone away, just make sure you can hit Control Z or undo up here, and that'll bring it back. If, for example, like you can see that this cell, this is the formula for the cell. So if I hit the delete button, it deletes not only the contents of the cell, but the formula. You can just go to the cell above that still has the formula, grab this little square and pull it down, and that'll replace it based on all the same sort of things. It's a bit complicated, so if you need any help after you've downloaded this sheet, you can email me at the email in the description, and I can give you some support on that anytime. Yeah, I hope this helps you in your crop planning. I know that I'm a very organized person, so it was very important for me to create something like this for myself, and I'm more than happy to share it with my other growers out there in the world. So hope this helps. And if you need any help with it going forward, like I said, just shoot me an email, and happy growing.